Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wee Ood, an unofficial Doctor Who podcast. My name is Ben. I'm here with my co-host Cam. How are you doing, Cam?
I'm doing fantastic. How you doing today, Ben?
I'm doing pretty good. So today we are talking Doctor Who and the Silurians. Cam, do you have any fun facts for us today?
So some of the fun facts is that this is the first story to be shot on color, like digital, whatever the digital cameras this would be. Because remember last week's story
Hmm.
was on film. It was the first story to be produced by Barry Letts, who will go on to showrun, not showrun, but produce the rest of the Third Doctor era. Do you remember him at all from the Second Doctor?
You would have to tell me what he did.
So he directed Enemy of the World.
Oh,
So he made the jump from being a director to being a producer.
that was one of my favorites.
He did not produce, I think I read somewhere that he did not produce this story in like full. There was some, since he was getting on board with it, I think there were some bits that here and there that were not from him. But I also read that he made one of the biggest changes, which we'll talk about, which is the ending. Right from the start, he's making changes to the show in big ways as the producer. Some of the other fun facts is that this is one, I think, the only Doctor Who episode that has Doctor Who in the name, which I think, like, what if we just start talking about that, since it kind of is like a weird thing that right when you start it's like, oh wow, Doctor Who in the title of it is.
Yeah, it is a little weird.
I don't like it personally. It's just it's wrong. Doctor Who and the Silurians does not sound good.
Yeah. I mean, apparently they thought it was good. I've been doing a lot of research into different Doctor Who books, including the Target novelizations. The first, like, I don't know, 50, maybe even 80 Target novelizations are Doctor Who and the blank, Doctor Who and the Zarbi, Doctor Who and the Terror of the Autons, or whatever, stuff like that. I guess they thought it was pretty good.
Well, they didn't because they changed it for the Target
I
release.
mean, at least Target thought it was
Target,
good.
they changed it to Doctor Who and the Cave Monsters, which is even worse.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, the Doctor Who and
But, like, I'm just saying, like, the
Keys.
Doctor Who and the Silurians, they didn't even like that. They just decided, "Hey, we gotta change that to Doctor Who and the Cave Monsters."
Mhm.
Some interesting fact that I thought was interesting was that they, in 2008, they did a fresh restoration of it, that they redid all the color because this was one of the stories that we have the color on VHS, and we have the clean 16 version of it. So in 2008, they basically did a complete reversion of it. We'll talk about it later, but I think it still doesn't really look great. I'm kind of hoping for the Blu-ray release of this that maybe they'll do a little bit more cleaning up, and maybe I don't know how, but make it look a little bit better because I think this kind of looked a little bit on the rougher side in terms of classic Doctor Who.
Yeah, yeah. I was watching, Josh Snares earlier today, and it's interesting how they restored color to all these early Third Doctor stuff. But yeah, this one leaves something to be desired. A lot of color banding. I don't know if that's the technical term for it, but it looks a little rough at times.
Of course, this is the first episode that we get to see Bessie, so that's a pretty big deal. Terrence Dicks and Barry Less, who Terrence Dicks, like I mentioned last episode, he is the script editor at this time and will be for the rest of the era, are actually in this episode as real passengers
Oh,
at like the, I would assume this was during like the ending, it'd either be like the last part or part five, not part five, part six or part seven, when we get those glimpses of London getting infected by the bacteria.
yeah.
So that's kind of cool that to think like I didn't spot them.
Part 6, that would be, I think.
But I think we do see a little bit of part seven right at the beginning, or am I wrong?
I don't remember. I know most of, like, the, masters going through the train and getting a taxi. That was, like, part 6, while the doctor is curing or making the cure.
So the writer Malcolm Hulk, probably butchering that. One of the interesting facts about him for this episode: this is the first time that he wrote for a Doctor Who that was not like Coven. Before this, he did one of the main ones was the War Games, which he co-wrote with Terrence Dicks, and then he did the Faceless Ones, which he co-wrote with David Ellis. This will be his first one that he did just with a solo writing credit. Something that I found interesting is that kind of there's a little bit of debate on who came up with the idea of the Silurians being like already there. it seems like it was kind of there's some
Like prehistoric?
like no, but like the Silurians already being there, which is in the episode, of course. It's kind of there's a lot of this in Doctor Who that somebody says they came up with an idea and the other person says that they came up with the idea. It's one of those where Terrence Dicks and Malcolm Hulk has kind of said, well, it's Terrence Dicks said, oh, it was my idea. And Malcolm says, it's my idea. So we kind of don't know whose idea it was that the Silurians have always been on Earth since, or at least were before us, I should say.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be all for the fun facts. There's going to be some more facts that I found out that we're going to be talking about once we get to start talking about the episode. And
Mhm.
and just because I already kind of mentioned it, the writer for this episode is Malcolm Hulk, who did the previous stories, like I just mentioned, the Faceless Ones, and he did the War Games, directed by Timothy Combe, who is this is his first episode of Doctor Who, and will go on to direct The Mind of Evil, which is next season, and again produced by Letts for the first time, and then script edited by Terrence Dicks.
Very interesting. So what did I usually go first this time. What are your thoughts overall on the Silurians?
I liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it. I think I probably liked it less than the fan census for the episode. But I would just say that like personally, I thought it was good, not great. I had some problems with it in terms of especially like the middle. I thought it kind of dragged, and I really liked the beginning of it when it was kind of like we didn't know much about the Silurians, and I felt like once we got to see the Silurians, I kind of was like lost interest in it because I thought that world wasn't really that interesting. The Silurian sets weren't great, and then also the mask looking cool, it kind of didn't add emotion to it or any type of like ways to make them feel real, to make it not just a mask. So it kind of made me a little bit less interested at that point. But then I kind of got re-interested more later on when the bacteria started getting introduced in pot 5. And then I would say the last later pot, I kind of got more interested again. So like a lot of these 6, 7 potters, I really like the beginning and I really like the end, but kind of the middle, I kind of wish they kind of trimmed a bit of it. And I wish that it was kind of more of a like even like a 5 potter. I think I would consider this to be a great story.
Yeah, I would definitely echo a lot of that. I think like the first 2 or 3 episodes where like we just like see the Silurians, out of the corner of our eye. We don't really know what they look like. And like the last like 2 episodes where it's a lot of like, the doctor developing the cure, a lot of shots of like outdoor shots of London. Like yeah, the beginning and end are pretty strong. The middle is kind of meanders a little bit, where it's like, oh, let's sneak in, let's sneak out. Oh, I'll try this way. It kind of drags down a little bit. There's probably a pretty good 5-part, like a really good 5-parter in there, but as it is, it's just okay. Maybe a little bit better than okay. It's good, but
And something that like stands out to me in terms of like, dragging was I just remember there was a moment where the doctor was kidnapped, and at the same exact time, the brigadier and the unit crew were stuck in the cave at
mhm.
the same exact moment. So it was like, all right, this story's not really going anywhere.
Yep. I gotta say for this, I thought the music and the sound effects were kind of obnoxious. It's definitely kind of very much in your face. Weird like kazoos and or something like kazoos.
Which to point out, this was not done by Dudley Simpson, who usually does the
Mhm.
scores for this era. It was done by, let me get his name. It was done by Kerry Blyton, who will go on to do Death of the Daleks and Revenge of the Cybermen. Which I will echo the same statements in terms of the score. I didn't really see it with the special effects. That didn't really stand out to me, but the score, like you said, having just weird stuff happening and like weird music choices kind
Yeah.
of made me go like maybe notice it in a bad way.
Yeah, yeah. Most of the time, it is kind of like, at least, from what I've seen so far, the Third Doctor, the music seems to be much more prevalent. First and second Doctor, just a little bit of music to set the mood, very quiet. But this is much more kind of in your face. And I thought like the Silurians using their mental attacks or whatever, the way they do everything essentially. That sound was pretty obnoxious. Like it actually hurt my ears.
I just was annoyed by like, why is that their gun slash stun weapon? It was very Cybermen,
They're
but it's like, why?
oh yeah, it's like the thing on their head exactly where
Yeah,
the Cybermen, although I guess is it a weapon? Do they shoot some no, the Cybermen have like the handheld things
but like, oh well, they at some they do have that as a weapon at some point.
later.
Yeah, I thought that was before this.
The previous Cybermen stories have just been like aesthetically they have a flashlight built into their
I
head.
think it's just
It doesn't actually
I
do
think maybe
anything.
it's just Revenge of the Cybermen that has that. But it reminded me of that, and it kind of also just drew me out. It was like, why did they like evolve into having that weapon, the Silurians? Of like, it's not like it's like a that's a
I don't
reptilian
know.
thing. And like spoilers for the when they bring them back, they don't bring that back as well. Because then they just give them guns because that kind of does make more sense.
Huh. I mean, they didn't even seem to know what guns were though. They were like, "Oh, they have instruments that shoot little pieces of metal."
But what did you think of like the Silurians in general, Ben?
I would probably echo what you're saying. You know, it's definitely I mean, there have been some people in masks for sure, but this felt especially masky, not creature-y. You know, I have struggled to kind of take it seriously at times, especially the Silurian that kind of takes over, kills the previous leader. You can like see the mask, like it's coming off
Yeah.
the body.
Especially, like, the last pop when they take over, like, the nuclear
Yeah.
reactor station, it's like you could see a lot of them where, like, the masks were coming off.
And that particular Silurian as well had a very unique voice that I could not take him seriously. It was pretty funny, actually.
I don't understand, like, the modulation they were doing with the Silurians either. It's like, I thought that was kind of just the way they spoke in general, I just thought was kinda weird and not, like it didn't add to it for me.
Mhm.
Personally, I love the idea of them. I think it's a great idea to, like, right from the get-go, they have this setup that the Doctor is stuck on Earth. And since the Doctor is stuck on Earth, they really can only do 2 types of stories, which is invasion, or they can do, like, there's something on Earth that needs to, like someone on Earth is doing something that the unit has to get
Yeah,
involved in because even if it's not alien.
they discover something.
So, right from the get-go, it's like, well, we're gonna do an invasion story, but we're gonna take a twist on it. And I think that's a great way to, like, to start the format of just being like, "Nope, we're gonna do an invasion story, but we are the ones who invaded the human race."
Yeah, I think conceptually, the Silurians are really interesting.
The ways that you can like add on to it is like, is this a thing about it? Is he trying to Malcolm Hulk trying to make some comments about colonialism and like how we, or I should say we, it's more like the British colonialized these native lands and took over.
Oh, he's gotta be, especially with, like, the last couple lines where he's like, "They were intelligent, sentient beings, and he's just wiped them all out."
Interesting, because I was saying the opposite of like this the Silurians are kind of we are the and from this standpoint, right? You could do it in like 2 different ways of like the you could see us as the ones that the Silurians are trying to colonize, or you could point of view of like we are colonizing them, right?
Yeah.
And like in some ways, like you could I thought like when you add the bacteria into this as well, it's like that was a thing in terms of colonialism that we would
Oh, yeah.
spread bacteria and we would that was like the population would die, and that's prevalent in this story.
I don't I think the fact that, like, the Doctor is always championing peace, he's trying to, he gets them to agree to peacefully coexist, but then it's those damn British military going in and killing everybody.
And that's something that I wrote down that I loved is that the doctor at the very end is still optimistic. He's like, well, they're gonna be able to give us all this information and all these advancements in technology. Like, and that's something that's like very much like I love about the Doctor as a character is that, like, no, he wants to see or I shouldn't say they want to see the good in people in life. We should just talk about them. It's like then when we have that moment of it's probably like one of the most strongest moments in the whole episode. It probably is one of the most iconic of the episode of just like we humans destroying them.
Yes.
And I was talked about earlier that Barry Letts made a change, and that was one of the changes he made was that they would die, the Silurians. And I think that is such a great change, and having it be like, no, this is not a happy ending, basically.
Yeah.
Like he said that originally it was going to end with the Doctor saddened by the loss of knowledge that the Silurians possessed, but then Barry Letts basically changed it to no, he's going to be saddened by the death of them.
Mhm.
Which would be kind of weird that like that if they died and the Doctor was like, oh, the knowledge. It's
Yeah.
so much better that they died and then he's just mourning the loss of it. And I think Pertwee at that moment is like plays it so well. And just having that close up shot on him that he's just like just he you can see that he's disappointed in the human race at that moment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I thought it was kinda weird, the Doctor and the Brigadier's ongoing relationship with this. You know, the Doctor's constantly warning him, telling him what he saw, saying, "Don't do this, you're gonna screw everything up," and the Brigadier's just at every turn saying, "Fuck you, I'll do what I want." But there's still, like, this weird, like, implicit trust. He trusts the Doctor, but he's always keeps undermining him, which I don't know. It didn't quite make sense to me. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. It's just at the end of the day, it's just like well, they're the homies. They're bros, and they're just they get each other, and like there's gonna be there's moments in here that like the Brigadier does just listen to what the Doctor says. He's like, no, we gotta listen to him, and we gotta take charge, and like
Like, he should know, though, at this point. He saved their asses 3 times now. They should know when I say, "I saw a prehistoric dinosaur in the caves." Brigadier should be like, "Oh, shit. Okay, let's figure something out then." Not like, "Are you sure that's what you saw? Are you sure it wasn't a saboteur?"
but like by the end of it, he's kind of like, all right, like when the bacteria starts to get involved, the Brigadier is fully behind the Doctor, and he's like, all right,
That's true.
we're gonna fix this and we're gonna quarantine and we gotta run after these people that are infected and quarantine them and stop this from spreading. But like I loved the really I was looking at my notes and it's like I love the first three parts of this. That like the use of Silurians in particular, like in part two when the Silurians comes up to Earth for the first time, then we get like a great shot of like the Silurian coming up and you see the sun like no, it was not. It wasn't. It wasn't sun. It was more like a lens flare, and then you get there's some great POV shots of the Silurian,
Oh, yeah. You know I love the POV shots.
and then like I loved the Silurian going into like the barn, and I love the something that this era has of the town folk seeing these aliens and just being like, "Oh my god!" It's just kind of like that guy from Spearhead, the very thick accent farmer
Yep.
just finding this hilarious. And something that stood out to me was when he was just like screaming at his wife to like, "There's something in the barn. Get on with it, woman. Call the police."
Yeah.
And then like but then like I thought that once we got to the Silurian, like once like after the third part, when we like saw the Silurian like civilization, that's where I kind of was like, oh, I wish that we kind of more kept it a mystery for longer. We kind of
Yeah.
stretched that out a bit and kind of led up to it instead of just being like, all right, there's the other Silurians. And then like what did you think of that production design of the Silurian like place? I thought it kind of was weak.
Yeah, it's just kinda green and rusty, just geometric shaped square rooms.
Which
Pretty pretty
which
uninteresting.
doesn't contrast well with the cave sets also. It's kind of just all leads into like
Oh.
just being boring to look at.
Yeah.
Let's get on to unless you have any more thoughts, Ben.
I have a couple things I wanted to mention,
Yeah.
some moments. I thought in the first episode when the doctor is working on Bessie and he stands up and he has like a rubber belt or something. He's like, "Oh, I wonder what this for," and he just throws it on the ground. I thought that was funny. And at the end, the doctor fixing Bessie with a little vial of red liquid, and he's like pointing as it goes through the engines and stuff. I thought that was kind of funny. The director, Dr. Lawrence, his kind of final breakdown as he's succumbing to the illness and he gets into an altercation with the brigadier. I thought that was really good. In general, kind of, I think really have good depictions of like this primal fear, like the people acting like cavemen, the woman, the farmer woman in bed who's absolutely terrified. I think that depiction throughout the story of like the Silurians are these unconceivable pure incarnations of fear. I thought that was really interesting.
Just to go back real quick, I gotta say I love that moment that Doctor Lawrence fucking when he has the disease and and he's screaming at the brigadier and stuff. And at that moment, I realized, oh my god, Doctor Lawrence is Niter from Genesis of the Daleks. So you got to see that actor again, Ben. Just you wait.
Oh, really?
They reuse him in the later on in a great role.
That's good. I thought he did a great job here. He's got like that good like kind of menacing face to him.
And over the top British acting,
Oh yeah.
especially that scene. It was like, oh, this is what I'm here for.
I also thought the Dr. Quinn did a good job as a kind of sleazy guy. It was kind of too bad he was killed too quickly or pretty quickly and wasn't throughout the story more.
That character wanting the knowledge from the Silurians and backstabbing the human race. That kind of reminded me of Evil the Daleks and the Doctor character betraying the human race for
Yeah, it
the
was that
knowledge of
guy.
how to turn metal into gold.
Yeah.
Of like that, it reminded me of that.
Yeah, definitely some parallels. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I got. If you don't have anything to add, then we can move on to the cliffhangers.
So, part one's cliffhanger is the Doc finds the dinosaur.
Yes.
And I love the dinosaur special effect. It looks so bad, but like it's
Yeah.
beautiful. Like and I just wonder like those are the moments in classic Doctor Who that you just kind of like I just want to talk to Malcolm Hulk and even like Ten Sticks or even Barry Letts just be like, why did this get approved? Like you would think with this budget you would read in the script dinosaur and you'd be like, buddy, do you not know what you were working with here?
Yeah.
Like what did you think of that cliffhanger?
It was good. I thought it was kind of weird. They set up right away the dinosaurs, but then they kind of just get ignored in favor of the Silurians with just like a couple like weird green screen shots that they added in later. And of course, it does what I hate, where in the first 30 seconds of the next episode, it's immediately resolved. Actually, there was no danger to begin with, where it's called away by one of the Silurians.
Part two's cliffhanger was that the Silurians attack Joe in the barn, which it's a fine cliffhanger. It's like a pretty standard the monster attacks the companion cliffhanger. So I don't even think there's that much to talk about there. Part three is
Liz, you mean, not Joe.
oh yeah, that's oh my god. In my notes I wrote Joe. That's terrible of me. I'm sorry. I'll just repeat that one more time.
Damn.
Part two's cliffhanger is that the Silurians attack Liz. The part three's cliffhanger is that Liz. No, sorry. The part three's cliffhanger is that the Doctor sees the Silurian for the first time.
Yes, face to face.
Part four is that the Doctor gets destroyed by not destroyed, but the Doctor gets attacked by the Silurian in the cell. Part five is that
I think that was the best of the lot. It's them going to the hospital and the guy running out and collapsing. The first plague death.
I didn't write part five's cliffhanger. Oh my god! But no, it's well, actually, I did. It's just I sort of Major Baker is dead, but yeah, that was the
Yeah.
cliffhanger. Is that
The first one.
the first one, and like that's was they listened to your complaints, Ben.
I know. You can't immediately resolve that. Although he does come up with a cure in the very next episode. It just takes a little bit.
I was just thinking like, oh god, too bad we don't have the Doctor during COVID. It would have been over in 2 seconds.
I know. I was looking at like Letterbox for the episode, like, about half of the top ones are like, "Man, if only the doctor coulda come up with a cure for COVID in, like, a day."
And then, of course, Pot 6, there's no cliffhanger because it just ends with the Silurians getting destroyed, which
Well,
is not
part
really a
7.
well, oh, yeah, Pot
There's part 6.
s see,
Uh,
this always this screwed me up, and I don't know if about you, but this screwed me up even watching it when I was felt weird being like, "Oh, yeah, I have to watch Pot 7." 'Cause I'm so used to, like, having the max of classic Doctor Who be 6 pots. Being
yeah,
7 potters are just so weird. So the
yeah,
pot 6
part 6 is the doctor is writing down the formula, the 2 Silurians melt through the wall and attack him, and you see him, like, eyes glazed over, falling off the chair.
so, what was your favorite cliffhanger?
Definitely part 5's.
Yeah, I would agree. Unless we were considered the last pot ending, the ending
Yeah,
of the series.
not the
I mean, the
cliffhanger, but
serial.
the end of the serial. Yeah, that was really good too.
But, in terms of cliffhangers, I will agree that Pod 5 is great, even though I love that dinosaur attacking the Doctor. There's such great,
Mhm.
like, charm to that dinosaur effect. So, Ben, you mentioned the rankings earlier. The rankings for this
Yes.
is going to be, this one of those serials that went, like it's kind of been changing
Is it
throughout the lifetime of the show. Like so there's some episodes that's pretty consistent. Like, this is number one, this is number two, this is number like they maybe change between 2 or 3 slots,
mhm.
right? This one, in 1998, it ranked as number third.
Really?
In 2009 and 2014, it dropped to number 5. But then in the latest poll, it dropped all the way down to 10.
Interesting.
Which no, that is very interesting. That's like
From top 3 to
top 5
top 10.
to top 10. What do you why do you think it like just that past so it's 2014 to 2023 that 9 years. Why do you think it dropped down that low?
Good question. I mean, maybe it just didn't age as well. The effects, and stuff.
I would assume that maybe it was somewhat of the pacing of it that like maybe people on rewatches kind of felt that pacing of the Seven Potter more than they did a couple of years ago. Maybe back when 2014 they didn't rewatch the story, so then you could even say that since the DVD release came out in 2008, there were more in 2009, 2014. There were more like they maybe watched it more sooner. So maybe it's been a couple of years, and after a couple of years of watching it, it maybe fell in people's mindset.
Yeah.
So maybe if they did maybe if the season 7 box that came out before 2023, it would have maybe been higher in the ratings.
Could be.
But I honestly though, I could imagine that 10th slot being the same for me when this is all over. Of being like, because like if so far, of course, we only have 2 episodes, but
Yeah.
this is not as good as Spearhead from Space,
Oh,
right?
no, definitely not. No. This is a little bit more generic? I don't know.
Yeah. But like I wouldn't even say that. It's just more like it's not as Spared from Space is perfectly
Oh,
paced.
yeah.
This is not perfectly paced.
7 episodes I think is just too long. Very, very few stories can justify 7 parts or more.
We're gonna see in Inferno. Inferno number one, Ben. It might be great.
I'm really looking forward to it. There are definitely episodes that at least they have in previous seasons that are just filling space, getting that episode count up, and not like really are needed.
But I think this one, it's not the worst one. Like you should just
No,
if
no.
really if this was even a 6 potter, this would be this story would be better. Even if you just lost that one pot from it, it would have tightened up things and you would have got a much more tighter storyline that would have
Yeah.
made it more enjoyable to watch. It's just that 7 potter just kind of made it drag out a little bit too long.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how we feel about the next 2 7-parters.
Yeah, which I don't remember a lot about Ambassadors of Death, so I'm actually looking forward to rewatching it.
Yeah.
So like we didn't do this last time, but I think we should do it.
Yeah, we should give stores.
Do we do I kind of personally, I would maybe want to do a 100-point scale, but
100
like
points.
so like do it out of 100.
I don't know if my thoughts are that granular to where I can decide Is it a 74 or a 73?
I understand that. Because that's how we get like the remember back in the day in IGN would be like 7.7, 7.8.
Yeah.
And like they got rid of that for a reason. So do you want to do the 25 points? Do you want to do the 20, like not 25? I forget what they call it. But like do you do it like out of like rounded out to 5, so it's like only 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10.
Yeah, we could do it, like, out of 10 with half points.
So what did you think of it, Ben? What would you rate it?
Oh, probably, I don't know, somewhere between a 6 and a 7, maybe a 6.5.
See, Ben, this is where I personally, if we had the 100-point scale like I talked about, this would be like a 77, 78. But for now, I would say it's a 7.5 for me. It's just I think I liked it more than you just because like there was enough things in it that I was able to grab onto. But again, it just that seven potter is just it was
Yeah.
you felt the seven pots by the end of
I
it.
mean, maybe 7, I don't know.
And then like I thought the Silurians, the mask of the animated mask
Yeah.
did bring it down a bit.
I mean, it was good, but I've you know, it's not awesome.
And since we didn't do it last episode, if people are curious, what would you give Spearhead?
Spearhead, maybe like a 8.5.
I would give it a 9, personally. Okay. See, maybe next week you will be the same thing that I just gave you the episode for 0.5 higher than you.
We will see. I'm optimistic. All right. I think that's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening in.
Goodbye, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please, if you liked it, remember to like or give us a review or to share it with your friends. And if you want more Doctor Who episodes, we have them for you every
Yes.
week. We hopefully, if everything goes according to
Yeah.
plan. So come back next week for some more Doctor
Yeah.
Who conversations about the ambassadors of death.
Have a wonderful night, everyone.
Goodbye.